Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Going Over podcast. It is I, your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, 44-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb. I've just been woken up on a late record by the man with the beautiful Christmas sweater. He goes by the name of my podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, I lied, but here I am.
There you are. Hey, we could do this. We could do this podcast whenever you're ready.
You baited me, buddy.
Except when you're sleeping, right?
You baited. I do this podcast in my sleep.
Oh yeah, got it.
Like this.
Yeah, I just got back from the old Christmas party.
Oh, yeah. What is dying? Oh my goodness, we're gonna need Wild Buck James or Doc Wood to come in and put the sensors on those.
That's right. Watch out.
There.
Watch out. It looks like the strongman John Anderson. If you take a quick look.
Let me see that double bicep pose. Santa tits are coming to town. Oh, Santa tits are coming to town. Oh, and just like Dickie Dakin, I told him one time, I said, blowing your load on a chick's breast is labeled snow on the mountains, which you're well aware of in the Reno, Nevada area. And he thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And to this day, he still says that to women. He says, "You ever had snow on your mountains?"
Oh, good stuff. Because, of course, it's the inside joke, bud. If it's an inside joke, then no one knows what you're talking about, right?
Woo! Taking my thumb off. What's that? How's that go? Oh, yeah, there it is. There's my thumb. There's my thumb. I have no thumb because it's up my bum. You know, last weekend, I sat through 16 matches. That's the word, sat through 16 matches. Last night I was down at Next Level, and I made it through 2 matches. It was getting kind of cold outside. The Big Ugly had left well before me, and I thought that was it. We're older now, and it's like, man, it's cold. My knees hurt. My joints, my back. I'm going to go ahead and hold on. I'm going to go ahead and John Cena final match tap out here and get home. I think I got home around 9:30. Ethan said the show didn't get over till about 11:30. It was a 5-hour extravaganza, and I had an hour in me. I was there before, earlier before and stuff, but I had about an hour in me, man. And one thing we worked on hard in class today, and coming back, not a hot tag, coming back. We get so involved in this the double down, right? Oh man, this bad guy's been beating the holy tar out of my butt, and I find a way to stun him for a second, and then I catch him with a maneuver. What a maneuver! I catch him with a maneuver, and now we're both just laying on the mat like 2 lazy pieces of shit as the referee starts the count. And then we're hoping for this, right? We're hoping that the audience starts clapping or something, so we can start coming up real quick and doing the proverbial bump and feed to go to the fake finish. And as I I got to class today, and Jesse Garcia was there. I'd just gotten off the phone with you, And I was like, you know what? And it was a drill I came up with. Everyone sat up, and both guys sat there, and they sat and fell back and took a bump out of the seated position. And it's like the baby bumps, and he starts to roll towards the direction of a rope, and then the heel takes the bump, and he rolls right over to the rope or wherever in position, and he's sitting there, and he's selling, but he looks over, and the baby is like through the ropes looking at the audience and like, I got to muster this up. This is my opportunity. And the heel looks over and sees the baby face going from down on the ground to the bottom rope to the second rope, and looks over and starts going, oh shit, I cannot let this baby face get back up to his feet, right? I can't let him beat me back up to his feet, because that's the whole purpose of me knocking him down and stopping him. Was I was able to finally stop this onslaught at the beginning, and now I'm in control and I can breathe. And now he does, no matter how much a fight he puts up, I'm able to stop him, right? I'm able to bring him back down, because I've wounded this guy, dazed this man enough that he just can't get no matter if that audience is behind him or not, he can't get his bearings, and he can't get his feet up under him. So I'm looking over, and I pull myself up thinking, all right, I gotta beat this baby face back to his feet, or I'm in trouble. And then the baby wins the race back to the feet as I struggle to get up, and I turn, and he got me. He beat me to the punch. And then I get up real quick, because I can get up real quick, and he beats me to the punch a second time. This time I get up even faster, but I'm not going to just get up and let him beat me to the punch for a third time. I'm throwing something, right? I'm throwing a punch, a forearm, a chop, anything I got. Oh, right. I'm grabbing trapeziuses. And that's when the baby face blocks and ducks. And now he starts picking up momentum off the rope. Now he starts building some steam, and that's when the heel's in trouble, because now the baby face has had enough time to recover and beat the heel back to the punch. And no matter what the heel tries to do, now the baby face tackle, he's up off the rope, reverse backdrop. That's where the line, two bigger bumps, an even bigger bump, and the heel is now, whoa, man, slow down. The baby's on fire. And he said, no way, I'm staying on top of this. And the reason I bring this up is because I feel I didn't see many of them, let alone hot tags, but I feel like it's everything's just lazily done. Like we get up to our feet. He stunned us. And as we look over to see where he's at, because he's definitely looked back at us on his way to get back, we realize, oh, he's almost back to his feet. And now we scurry to try to pull ourselves back up and shake the bearings and the cobwebs loose. But he beats us. The baby beats the heel to the punch. And it's done so formulaic in today's world of wrestling, but the comeback is actually, like the Balor brothers said it, right? They said the most important part of the match is the comeback. But it's not just like, okay, we've been stomping our feet, or the fans know to do this. To be able to pull off a good comeback, a good hot tag, to be able to pull one of those things off very well is a lot of raw emotion that starts when you come out that curtain getting the audience behind you. So today was just a very long day, and safe to say by the end of the day, by the end of 3 hours and 45 minutes, maybe a little bit more, give or take, I saw some guys. I saw 16, 20s, somewhere in that range. I saw some guys that finally understood what building back to the vertical basis and beating the heel to the punch was. And there's probably a lot of people out there who's never heard it explained that way, that we are trying to beat the guy back to our feet and and beat him to the punch so that we can start to gain momentum to get the heel reeling, to keep him off balanced and keep him on his heels. Paul, have you heard it described like that in such grave detail?
Well, maybe not grave detail like that, but definitely that is, in my mind, that's the way that you are gonna build your comeback, right? You're gonna be slowly building steam to try to gain the advantage. But I think a very important point that you brought up was that doesn't just start after the double down or maybe the baby face hit something out of desperation or whatever. It starts when you come out of the curtain, right? You need to start building a little bit of a relationship with the fans so they understand, like, this is the baby face. This is the guy that, stereotypically the fans are going to be behind and be cheering. And, you got to start it as you come out of the curtain, right? And then you have to establish it as the beginning of the match, as you start the match. And you got to continue to build on it throughout the match, where, when you're getting the shit kicked out of you, now the fans are encouraging you to come back. And then finally you get to that stage where, like you said, you're beating the heel to the punch, right? You're just a split second faster, right? You're getting a punch in there, you're getting a chop in there, whatever it is. You're getting the offense a second or two before the heel can get theirs, and then maybe you go into evading, ducking, whatever, where now you're kind of you get the ball rolling, right? You get some stuff going, and where you can finally maybe get the Adam used to always say G money up, right? That's when you really start getting the crowd behind you, right? Fire up. Video game wise, that's when you start hitting your taunts, right? That's how you get your energy meter up, right? The fans are getting behind you, and it's getting your adrenaline going, and that's what really feeds into the offense that you're going to start to get. So, and obviously you go come back, hot tag, I would say synonymous terms. One is for an individual match, one's for a tag match, but we're trying to get across that the babyface is building some momentum, getting the crowd behind them, and then that leads to some sort of random multiple offensive moves in a row, and and probably is going to lead to wherever you're going with the finish, whether that's the babyface just overwhelming the heel and getting the victory, or vice versa. Gets fired up, gets to a certain point, either runs out of gas or makes a move, just an adrenaline fired move that misses something, and the heel comes back and gets the victory. But what a great way to do this with your students and really establish that this is what we're trying to accomplish in a wrestling match, right? Obviously circumstances kind of come into play there. We have the smash match, as we like to call it sometimes, where there's probably not going to be that, right? There's not going to be a comeback. There's just going to be one guy beating the shit out of the other guy and winning, right? So I think this kind of pertains to a match where you're going to have the babyface getting a little bit of offense, a higher percentage of offense, not just getting the shit kicked out of them. But yeah, man, what a great thing to do. And it's like, I guess in my mind, it's like how do the pro wrestlers, how do they not know about what you're talking about, and how do they not realize like, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish? And I think the short, simple answer is because it doesn't happen that often, right? It is so much of I'll give you 3 moves, then you give me 3 moves. It's there's not a beat down, per se in a lot of matches. A lot of matches are very back and forth. There's not really a story being told as far as someone that you're going to want to boo and someone you're going to want to cheer. It's very much back and forth, and you're looking for more of the ooh-ah stuff and the holy shit chants and this is wrestling, right? You're thinking that is what's gonna means that you had a good match, not the telling a great story that the fans can follow behind and really get behind the baby face and really be antagonized by the heel, right? We don't see a whole lot of that, and then when you see it happen, it's so special, and you're like, wow, man, did you see that? And you think it's some sort of special formula that 2 guys are doing because they're so awesome, but it's like, this is just basic pro wrestling, man. This is the stuff that we grew up on, where you had the bad guy beating up the good guy till a certain point where the good guy starts fighting back and building his comeback, and it goes into something where either you overwhelm the heel and win, or you get cut off and you lose, right? So very simple formula, but it's just underutilized to say the least.
When we first started this, we said, are we going to be able to talk about pro wrestling for 1 hour? I mean, that's what we really like. We're like, can we do this? We're going to have a lot of bells and whistles, which I think eventually down the road that's going to be a addition to the show with but is it? Because the reality of this is it's fun to say like, oh man, we're going to have the shit show of the week, or all that. We're going to have Big Ugly come on and critique all the food from around all the independent wrestling shows. That's going to be another clip. Call it the ugly, what were we going to call it?
I don't remember what we were going to call it.
The ugly truth in 10 minutes. Like, we had all these ideas,
Just remember where that came from, though. That was such the great story of going to, I don't even know if it was already called Ugly Dojo or whatever, but wasn't it in Vacaville or somewhere where you and I were just sitting at a table and one of the students came over and gave us popcorn, and it was terrible. It was dry. It was salty. It was like it was horrible. Yeah. They were like, oh, we should put that as a segment on the show, is just critiquing the snack bar foods.
Well, this whole show started that night when you brought the earbuds, and we sat at the back table and we popped them in with the little clips, and we just talked all night, and we went back and listened to what we were saying. And I think that's where you came up with the idea, because I was set on doing so much. I was like, we're going to start here. Like I had this show, like we were going to produce it. You know what I mean? This is different segments and this long. And you just said, hey, let's do one. And I went back and I watched the first one, because it just popped up on my feed, where we had almost 500 views on it. And now we're averaging anywhere from 60 to 100 if we're lucky. And I just went back and I looked at that one, and I was like, man, here we are. What is this? 110?
111.
111. Paul, do you understand? That's 111 hours of us talking about pro wrestling, but never really, even if we're repeating the same thing twice, like the passion in my voice that I was just talking about, the comeback, was more passionate than probably 5 or 6 other episodes where this had been brought up or mentioned. Because today, after last weekend, my thought process on this, when I really dug down, after 26 years became greater. The way that I went over this thing for hours at my own house and then took this over to class and ran this by my student at 9 o'clock. And we just went over stuff. And then by the time everybody showed up, this is the way we started this drill. And 3.5 something hours later, we're finishing up this drill and then going to another closing drill that we came up with along the way, which the progression of this is great. But one thing I wanted to talk about too on that is, the mark of a great performer. We talked about it from start to finish, curtain to curtain. But part of getting the audience, getting the audience behind you, whether you're antagonizing them or getting the sympathy and they want you back up in the fight. I'm not buying these near falls and these false finishes. And I'm not saying that there's not some out there that are good, but it seems so formulaic. It's just like clothesline, back elbow, hip toss, body slam. Now, okay, it's time to go to a near fall or a false finish. But as the guy watching this, and I know the fans too, we don't believe that this match might be over. And I just remember back in the day, here's a callback to back in the day. I just remember I used to think 2 or 3 times near the end of a competitive match with a great story that this thing might be over right here. Like, oh, that might be it. And I think that's the mark of a good worker, man. The mark of a good worker is luring us into the point to think that maybe the baby came back, but the heel put his foot on the ropes or caught this move out of desperation. He might win here. Okay, he's back up. Wait, no, this guy, there's the move. 1, 2. And I think that's where we get where all these like, I hit you with my finishing move and you kicked out. But if it's done at the right time, like if I throw that super kick in the right time at 20, 25 minutes deep into the contest, I might not get the 3 count on you. I might take an extra second to go for that cover and you kick out. Or even though it looked like I hit you with that move flush, maybe 25 minutes into that contest, I didn't have everything behind it. Maybe since I push off of my left foot, maybe I hurt my ankle in that match. And even though it looked like I landed that right leg, bottom of that boot, right on the old button point of the chin, maybe I didn't have enough push off of my plantar foot to knock you unconscious like I meant to do, and you kicked out. And that's where the commentators need to be smart, and they need to tell that story along the way too. And what I'm talking about here is a perfect world, right? Like this is in a perfect world. Commentary would line up with the story of the match. The referee would be just as big a part of the match. The heel would antagonize, the baby face would get sympathy, and the audience would be hanging on the edge of their seats. And that's why we do this, because we do this for so many years just to have a couple great moments, right?
Well, and you mentioned something it's subtle, but it's something that I constantly think about, right? And it's like if I'm going to hit someone with my finish and they're going to kick out, there needs to be some reason for it, right? So, you're talking about maybe your plant leg was injured, something like that, where you can have the commentators tell that story. And I always think about like a lot of times you hit the choke slam. For me, you hit the choke slam, And instead of falling forward onto the guy, I fall backwards, right? Because I'm exhausted. Fall backwards onto the ropes, then go, oh shit, I should cover him. And then you get over there. But it's been several seconds, 5, 10, 12, 15 seconds before you cover the guy. And now that tells the story of why the guy's able to kick out, right? If you would have dove on him immediately, it's game over. But since it took you a little bit of time to finally make that cover, then you can realistically say that's the reason that the guy was able to kick out, right? Because even if it knocks someone out, a lot of times you would hear the commentators go, it was based off of reaction, right? It's reflex. You start hearing the count on the mat, and you just instinctually kick out, right? So you can tell that story within the story by just those little subtle things like that. So, and I don't know how many people think about doing those things, right? You don't think about, like, if I take a little bit more time to cover the guy, it gives you a reason that the guy could kick out of something, right? So putting just that extra little thought into some things like that, I think is super important and probably overlooked quite a bit. But it's something that I definitely like. It goes through my mind on a regular basis of why, if I'm going to hit someone with a big move and they're going to kick out, let's make sure that there's some sort of viable reason that happens. So so that's a great point, but it's very subtle that people don't normally think about what is the reason for someone going to kick out of a move that I hit them with. That maybe you use the word false finish. I know we kind of have talked about that. I know we talked about that with Casey Thompson. False finish versus near fall, like what terminology to use. And when you're talking about a false finish, you're talking about something that's been established and everybody knows you hit that move, it's game over, right? Like it used to be back in the day. But can you think of a match? Like I can think of a match right off the top of my head where maybe the first time where you saw something where you go, oh, it's game over, and someone kicked out and you were just like, oh my God, I thought that was the end of the match right there.
Yeah. Like a current match?
Well, like I think that in my mind, the first time that happened that I can like clearly remember was the first Undertaker Shawn Michaels WrestleMania match, right? Where I thought, tombstone. Well, it's obviously over right there because nobody kicks out of that, and then it gets kicked out of, and the look on Undertaker's face and things like that. So, what about you? Was there something like memorable that you can think of where the first time that happened, or
WrestleMania 8, Jake
right?
Roberts stuffed the Undertaker with that DDT, man. And when Roberts hit you with the DDT up to that point, you didn't get out of it. And I remember he hit Undertaker with that DDT finally in the Hoosier Dome in front of like 60,000. And he like slid back and like looked around at the audience, like, because of the story they'd built up on Paul Bearer's, the fucking Taker shop or whatever, the funeral parlor or whatever it was. Jake hit Undertaker with that DDT. Go back and watch that one. That was my first moment in wrestling besides Hulk Hogan kicking out of everything and hulking up. But I saw Roberts because he just stuffed him with that, and he slid back and he looked around. And he was looking at the audience talking, and all of a sudden, Undertaker sat up, and Jake Roberts, the look on his face was like, holy shit. And then Undertaker ended up tombstoning him on the outside, rolling him back in the ring, crossing his arms and beating him, which nowadays you couldn't jump off the top rope and tombstone them onto the fucking apron without rolling them back in the ring and getting another 25, 30 out of the contest. But I don't feel that anybody should kick out of your choke slam. And I'm just going to tell you why I don't feel. Because you're 7 feet tall. And I've had your hands gay, no homo here. I've had your hands around my throat more times than I can count over these past 26 years. And I have felt how man strong you are. You know, you're not just a 7-foot you're a 7-foot athlete that played fucking basketball, man. You slam dunked, you palmed and slam dunked a basketball through a fucking 10-foot hoop, you know? So you grabbing me at 5'11. I saw our picture together from the Hall of Fame, and I look like a small child. And I remember you know, some people that looked at that picture were like, oh fuck, I forgot how tall he was, because you guys sit on the podcast, and like right now I'm a little more elevated than you on, like I'm not at the same or what we should be at. So like if you were to grab me right here, whether it's on the carpet or whether it's on the cement out there, and you picked me up over your head and drove me to the ground, my head is bouncing off that mat. I'm going unconscious, and you should probably call the fucking paramedics, maybe even the morgue, because I might have an aneurysm or brain damage. I'm definitely knocked out. There's going to be some severity and a trip to the hospital and maybe a long stay. So when I see, and this is no offense, but when I see a guy, and I think Alex Ace is maybe a little bit taller than you, but when I see a guy like Alex Ace, who has that big boot, because I think he wear what fucking size 20 and shit, you know, way bigger than your whole face, is just knocking you out. Or I see Alex Ace who could do a choke slam, and I see him wanting to grab somebody with both hands, lift them up in the air, and then jump up and land on his own fucking tailbone, which I think it's unsafe anyways and unnecessary. But why would a 7-foot guy, why would a man of your stature, who could just grab most men that are smaller in height and pick them up and drive them down, not even going to a knee or a stomach, just why would you? Why would you not just want to? No, have you ever ran down the court to slam dunk a basketball and decided that after you dunk it, you're going to let go of the rim and land on your butt on the hardwood floor? Look at me, I'm going to dunk this basketball and then take a face bump. How about a back bump from it too? Like Shaq had adrenaline going, but he didn't look like it felt good when the backboard broke and he fell on his back. You know, I mean, he was lucky if they hung on and everything broke and he was still, the rim was still attached. You know what I mean? He didn't like it when it broke. So to me, it's completely dumb to think, why would a 7-foot guy? That's all you need. Why would you go to your knee and land on your knees? We all know as we get older, our knees are bad. You know, your big, tall guys, their knees are first to go because walking around on them all day. Where the fuck would you land on your knees from a choke slam? Why would you sit out with it? At what point? Why would you go? If you could stay 7 foot and dominant and win the match and not have to go down on the ground, why would you willingly pick somebody up and take half of your size away and break your basically break your tailbone with the move? What did that do? What did that do? And that's what bothers me about some of this stuff is you get these big guys in the business and you go, hey man, they always said it, KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, dumb fuck. Like, you're not going to reinvent the fucking wheel here. You're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. So maybe things get a little more athletic. Maybe the technology gets a little better. But you're not going to change the way that we get these people to react, because they're going to react off emotionally. We want them to react emotionally. So if you're a 7-foot guy, whatever, that's enough. That's enough, Paul. I've never seen you in my life pick somebody up for a choke slam and then jump up and sit out with it to your butt. And if I did see you do that, just like I have with many of these other guys, I would have gone to the back and I would have said, hey man, why'd you do that? And I believe And that's why I like you. That's why we get along. I believe that you would have said, no, you're right. Why the fuck did I do that? If I would have explained why'd you do it and you shouldn't have done it, because you've gone so far and been respected in this business because you actually do want to get better and listen. So I'm sorry about that rant, but we were talking about that, and you asked me about if I ever thought it was something I brought the Jake, but I just thought in my head, like, if you're big guys like you, what the fuck would you do? I want to be on my feet smashing you to the ground, you know? It's the equivalent of a slam dunk.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense. Obviously, you think about all the different times where it's like you have to figure out a creative way to lose a match, right? So you have to try to tell some sort of story, and that's I guess in our minds that's the best way to do it. It's like, oh well, you got to somehow get out of my finish, right? Instead of just going, you know what? Why don't we avoid that completely? Why don't you slip out the back, or why don't you, I know with Adam, it's been like you go to hit him with the choke slam and he hits you with a fucking a knee strike, right? As he's coming up, he's using his own momentum that I'm providing to lift him up to bring his knee up and hit me in the chin or face or whatever. And that's the reason that he gets out, So, there's so many creative ways that you can put yourself in harm's way versus hitting your finish and having a guy kick out. So that's definitely something for me to put into my memory bank and go, you know what? It doesn't make sense to hit my finish and somebody kick out of it, right? Unless it's like, where you've built up to it, right? Where it's going to catch everybody off guard, where you go, okay, this is going to be a once in forever opportunity for us to, swerve people a little bit, where everyone is going to go, oh, it has to be over because it's always over when this happens, right? And then you just like, okay, here's the time that we're going to change it up a little bit, and where now it's a surprise, right? Where now it's like every time you do this move or every time this sequence happens, it always ends in the same result. But somehow we've built to something and now it's changed. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and this is a conversation I want to have back and forth with you right now. Not even a long rant either way, but you're going to hit me with one choke slam in the RWF. You're going to get me with one. And when it's the right time for that one, I'm going to find a way. It could be 2 years. Every time you get close until it's the right time, I'm going to find a way to, whether it's someone running in or I'm going to find a way not to take that until it's the right time. And when it's the right time and we know it's the right time, no matter when it is, then I'll take it. And then you'll move on to whatever you go to next, and I'll go to whatever I go to next. But I'm not coming back after that. I have no point. And if I do, then man, we must have made a lot of money. And now the heel comes back and says, you know what? That one move got me. I want another shot. But in that sense, now we're talking about the sequel. You know what I mean? Running it back and doing it again. But I mean, that's the logic of it right there is I don't want to take that choke slam from you until it's time. And when I do, I'm just not going to the hospital is enough because I'm taking the 3 count. Matter of fact, you could stand over the top of me and let the ref count to 10, count to 100 and ring the fucking bell. You don't even got to pin me. And I just don't think that people, even at the big time level, see that as like, you shouldn't beat that guy. Mike Tyson, right? I was watching that Jake Paul fight, and he's 6'1", 216 pounds, and Anthony Joshua just dwarfed him. But Mike Tyson was 5'10", 215 pounds smaller, and would have crushed Anthony Joshua in his prime. You know what I mean? He would have beat him senseless in a couple rounds and left him sleeping on the ground. And that's what I'm saying is there's big guys out there and that I've heard, tell me like, man, I just can't catch a break somewhere. And then I watch them wrestle and they're always at the shit end of the stick. You know what I mean? They're always getting beat cleanly and fucking picked up and slammed, and it doesn't make any sense. And then they're walking off, mad about it. And I'm just like, well, what's the fucking point of there's no point in bringing that big guy back. He just looked like a fucking piece of shit. Why would anybody? I've seen big guys at these independent shows get beat right out for no reason, and then they're walking to the back and the ref's trying to help them, like, get off of me, I'm angry. And it's like, you're done. You were finished. But one and done is what I was trying to say. I don't need when it happens, it happens. I have no desire to take a second one.
Absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, we have gone back and critiqued, the match that we had at the municipal auditorium. So this is kind of, the opposite of everything that we did leading up to that, right? It's like, oh well, 1 month you get choke slammed in the ring, and then the next month you get choke slammed through a table, and it's like, it didn't make sense, right? For us to come back and have an actual match, right? I've just been destroying you. Like what would make it to the point, you basically just said, like, call the ambulance, call the morgue, whatever, right? That you're getting dominated. So this just makes me go, man, what were we thinking back in the day, right? We didn't have this same mindset back in the day, right? I know it was babyface on the comeback trail. So maybe you look at it as like, oh, that son of a bitch got me that time, but it's not going to happen again. And it happens again. And it's like, well, fuck, man, what am I going to do? How am I going to overcome it? The ultimate underdog story, I guess, to make sense of that, right?
You know what? As I look back at it, even though we almost sold the house out off of that, I felt like what we did there, when we went back and watched it, was like totally wrong. We totally buried. We built you up and then buried you. So it was like we literally built you up for one night to draw a house, but bring nothing after that. And if I was to do that now, I would have done it the exact same way. But when you put me through that table on Work Farm Wars, which would be Limelight now or a bigger show, I would have had like the stretcher board come out as the champion, and I would have had him haul me off, and I would have had you standing there with Bradley Rotten with the title, and we wouldn't have wrestled at Last Man Standing, because they would have said, ladies and gentlemen, Zach Reeb, due to this injury, cannot compete, and the championship belt is being put up for grabs at the 30-man Last Man Standing Rumble, and I would have had you win the 30-man Rumble and had you walk around with that championship belt for a fucking year, you know what I mean? And, or however long it took till I came back from that injury. And then that's when I would have started coming after you to get back. But looking at the hindsight now, 15 years later, you hit me with that move. What gets the heel manager and you over even more? The champ, you fucked the champion up. He can't, as much as I want to compete, I can't get cleared to compete because I got some, it fucked me up that bad. And then you go on a tear of doing this to every baby face. You know, you work your way through the baby faces doing this. And then Zach Reeb makes the big comeback and we have the big match. And I end up wrestling the championship away from you to a sold out place and a huge pop. And even if you lose that one time, you're not gone. It's like you come back after that, and now, oh shit, he was beaten once, but I don't think he's going to get beaten again. And we don't tell that story because we don't give that time to build somebody up. But yeah, we should have definitely played. That's the cool part about what we're doing now is I'm the heel. I'm the bad guy.
Right.
So I don't have to take it till the end. You know what I mean? When I was a good guy, I was like, fuck you, Zach, right in the middle of the ring. Contract signing, fuck you, Zach, through the table. Did I even take a choke slam in that match we had for 15? I mean,
I don't think so. I think the culmination was it was super kicking me falling through the table, right? There was no, and I don't know if it was like, did I catch you for it and you slipped out the back? And I don't remember what the finish was, even though we watched it on this podcast. Yeah, so
exactly. We don't remember because it wasn't that great, right?
Right, exactly.
I'd love to do some mushrooms and go back and watch that. I haven't done mushrooms in years. Me and you just fucking just high on mushrooms right here on the podcast, watching that match, going, "What the fuck is this? This is great."
Oh, jeez.
I don't know, man. That's crazy. That's crazy to me that when I remember some of that, but it's crazy to me that it was like, yeah, get over on the giant and then super kick the fuck out of the manager. And that's what we try to tell these guys. Like, we're trying to tell these young guys about this stuff because we made a lot of money that night, but we also blew another year's worth of money in the future because the attendance started, and it never got bad. I mean, it stayed above about 300-400, but we had the ability, if we would have played that out right, because we put 957 people in a 1,000-seat venue, and so we had the ability to probably go an easy year in that building, selling 1,000 tickets every night. Like, honestly, bro, we could have made $150,000-$200,000 off of ticket sales and concession in 6 to 8 months, just off the back of that alone. I think Mike Modest let me know how retarded I was one time about that.
I do remember him telling you that. Yeah. It's like, you know who I would have had to win the Rumble? That big fucker right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said that. Like,
yeah.
He was like, yeah, I had a blast here tonight, man. He's like, that was cool. You had that Scotty Aboot guy come back and win, but I don't think the fans really knew who the fuck he was. He had the little mishaps with the light switch. He goes, but I would have had this 7-footer win, and then you chase him for a year. And I was like, And why was that the right move? Because Mike's been in the business for a long time, and he saw a guy with potential, but who was still a fucking self-mark 8-10 years in the business going, Scotty Aboot returns and the lights go out and wins the Rumble. To me and Rick and I, that was like fucking nostalgic. You know what I mean? To everybody else, the fans, they were like, that becomes the problem with the booking too, is you start booking because they're your buddies. You're like, that's my friend.
That's it.
I remember we built Shoop up. I was talking about it today. We built Shoop up, and Shoop had his moment finally, right? Where he won the belt. Were you there when he won the belt from Manny Roa?
I wasn't, no.
It was like, here's his moment in the ring. And then my coach had decided that we were gonna have bad news, kidnap Kimmy, his wife, and it just completely took the sails in the air right out of the finish in Shoop's moment. And I just felt like everything just kind of deflated after that. You know, I was talking to Manny today too, and he's like, man, the one thing that let's make sure we do this right coming up. because my favorite drink by the makers of 7-Up on a hot summer night coming up, ladies and gentlemen. But let's make sure we do this right, because when I look back at this thing for my main belt, I had West Coast make this amazing championship belt. We came back from the pandemic, and I feel like that thing we did with Propane, Bradley Rotten, and I with the first blood match and all this stuff, I felt like that was good business. But then I felt like everything we did after that, from Sin, and then he left, and then it went to Rick, and then it went to Manny, and then I just felt like the thing you're supposed to build your company around, what there was too many cooks in the kitchen, and it was booked like shit. And that comes down to you have to go with the gut feeling. Like if if they're not here, if I talk to these guys 2 to 3 times a week, I see them 2 to 3 times a week. If I'm not talking to you 2 to 3 times a week, or I don't see you 2 to 3 times a week, there's a good chance that you don't need to be the big time player in my company. You know what I mean? If you're not, if I'm not consistently having a conversation with you and talking to you, and we're not under fucking contract here, you shouldn't be the guy that I'm putting my company on my back. It's got to be somebody that's within the company standards, man. So, I mean, just so many mistakes.
Or unless it's somebody that's really, really bought in, like obviously, you do have conversations with people that you want to be a big part of your company. So, as long as people are really bought in and understand the direction and what you're trying to accomplish, and hey, this is what our year plan is, or our 2-year plan, or whatever. This is where we're, the culmination of what we're trying to get to, and however long it takes, right, until it happens. That's the plan. That's where the direction that we're going. You said today, like, you don't know where the finish line is, but you know which direction that you want to head, and kind of where you're headed, where you want to go. You don't know what the end story is, but you do know the direction that you'd like to go. And obviously having people involved in that and bought in, and and we've talked about this in the past about like the people that have influence and suggestions, and want to have conversations about how their character can be best utilized in your company, and things like that. Those are the people that you want to put your time into helping out, or you want to have them be a big part of your company, because obviously they give a shit, right? They know the direction that they want to go, and they know their character the best, and they're going to tell you, hey, this is how I envision my character, and get your feedback on it. Say, hey, what do you think? Let's brainstorm together, and let's figure out the best possible path, right? And then obviously we always have those little bumps in the road where somebody gets hurt, somebody gets sick, somebody maybe gets a bigger opportunity somewhere else, and you need to kind of go off track a little bit of what you had planned. And you always try to make the best of the situation. And I think we've talked about in the past that a lot of times we figure out something better than we had planned originally when things kind of go awry.
Every time. I was just talking to Rick about that today. I was like, even if everything that we had come up with, and because we had a little, we knew where we were going, but it felt like we were, and that's the problem in wrestling, is sometimes you blow your load. You know what I mean? You do things too quick, or you give somebody something too fast, and then you're like, well, you've already done all this. What is there left to accomplish but to do it again? And a lot of times it's like, you already worked this story, winning this thing and winning this belt and being on top, and it didn't, and the building wasn't sold out. So you weren't it, That's what I always tell these guys, man. It's like, you have to be humble. Like when we first came down to you for the first, 3 or 4 shows, it was a very low attendance, right? And it's like, well, whether it was promoted right or not, as a performer, I'm like, I'm nobody right now because you put me on the flyer. They knew I was going to be here, and there's still only 40 or 50 fans. So who the fuck am I? It's like at the cup, the prospect cup. I was like, fuck, I got to go out and promote this thing a little more because digital didn't get the job done. Oh, 5 minutes remain in this podcast. We were both slightly distracted. But like if you can put 75 to 100 fans in a building, I've seen people post they've had less than 100 fans in a small building and post online saying last night was special. And I'm like, was it? What was so special about it? That you wrestled in front of 75 fans, you know? And it means a different thing too. Like me and you at our age wrestling in front of at fucking 44, 50 years of age after all these years wrestling in front of 50, 75 fans in a small building is different than two guys that have only been doing it for a year to 3 years wrestling in front of 75 fans trying to build something and tell a story because one thing is I get a lot of people hitting me up going, hey man, are you available this date? Are you available that date? And I'm like, yeah, but for what? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you want to use? What do you want me to do? And they're like, well, I want you to wrestle. And I'm like, fuck, bro. I'm 44 years of age. Okay. Let me be honest with you, Paul. I'm kind of interested in some selective stuff that I really want to do. I don't really want to go into a small venue and that's where my career comes to an end, is getting hurt in front of a small crowd just working, there's things that we talked about at the last podcast. I asked you what's on your bucket list, you know what I mean? And you working younger guys was on your bucket list, which I think that was on my bucket list in the last 2 years, working with Jesse and Rayshawn and Manny and Christian and Evan and stuff like that. That was on my bucket list when we first came back from the pandemic. And now that is not on my bucket list at all. Nowhere to be found on my bucket list. Hey, I came in and I went like 8 straight months of wrestling young talent at your show. And now it's like, I don't know if that's on my bucket list anymore. I'm ready to do this thing with us and tell some stories and put some people in the crowd if we can.
That's exactly right, man. It's I don't know, man. You think about the one-off stuff, right? And that's always kind of the, you think about that as a promoter, like, what is going to sell tickets? Is it going to be those, never seen before matches or dream matches with really no story? Or is it going to be the something that you're following along for month after month and you're wondering what's going to happen next? What does truly sell the tickets? Because I think you could make an argument either way that, fans are going to want to see amazing wrestling matches, even if there is no story behind it. But on the flip side of that, your hope is that fans want to continue to come back and watch because there is a story and they want to know what happens next. So, and you just never know these days with a lot of times we think about fans with the short attention span. They want to know, like, they just want to see something happen right now, right? They don't have the patience to see how it unfolds over the next, 6, 9, 12, 18 months. So definitely something that we need to take into consideration as well.
Damn Skippy hippie. You damn Skippy hippie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Merry freaking Christmas And we'll have another podcast to tell you Happy New Year, you sloppy drunk suckers. But hit that subscribe button. Give us a little subscribe. Give us a like, make a comment, talk some shit. Who cares? I'm Zach Primetime Reeb. That's the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. I'm gonna take these fucking headphones off because Wee's Bee's going over. You're cordially